What if the answers you've been searching for have been whispering to you all along? Your instincts know what you want long before your mind can explain it. Fulfillment doesn't come from logic. It comes from listening to the truth within. When we speak about instincts, most people imagine fleeting urges or primal reactions, the kind of impulses that belong to survival. But if we go deeper, if we quiet the chatter of the analytical mind and step into that silent space between thought and awareness, we begin to recognize that instincts are far more than random impulses. They are a form of inner intelligence, a silent compass that has always been there, guiding us toward what we truly want. This compass is subtle. It does not shout. It does not rationalize. It whispers. It moves in feelings, in gentle nudges, in the pull of curiosity or the resistance we feel when something is not right for us. The silent compass within is not limited to the intellect. In fact, it often bypasses the intellect altogether. Science shows us that the body can register signals from the environment and process information long before the brain has fully articulated what is happening. Think about those moments when you just knew something before you could explain it. Maybe you met someone and sensed trustworthiness, or the lack of it, before a single word was spoken. Maybe you walked into a room and immediately felt either drawn in or pulled away without knowing why. These are not coincidences. They are messages from your instincts. They are pieces of information delivered from a system much older and more reliable than your surface-level thoughts. We have been conditioned to rely on logic as the highest authority. From an early age, we are taught to value what can be measured, calculated, and explained. And while rationality has its place, when it becomes the only source of guidance, it cuts us off from this deeper intelligence. Instincts are not irrational, they are pre-rational. They operate before thought, before analysis, and they often know more than the conscious mind can grasp. When you begin to honor this, when you start treating your instincts as signals from a deeper wisdom instead of as distractions to be dismissed, life begins to change. Consider how a compass works. It does not show you the whole map. It does not explain the terrain. It simply points north. From there, you must decide your steps, your pace, your path. Instincts work the same way. They will not give you the entire strategy, but they will give you a direction. They will show you the path that resonates with who you are. If you learn to follow that pull, you may not know exactly where you will arrive, but you will know you are moving toward alignment with your authentic self. The reason so many people feel lost or disconnected is not because they lack instincts, but because they have stopped listening to them. Years of external influence, social pressures, cultural conditioning, voices of authority, fears of judgment, create static that drowns out the compass. The silent whisper of intuition becomes buried under noise. People then live from the outside in, making choices based on what is expected, accepted, or rewarded, instead of listening to what feels alive within them. The result is a life that looks good on the surface, but feels empty underneath. But here is the profound truth. The compass is never broken. Even if you have ignored it for years, it is still there, waiting. The pull you feel when you are doing something that excites you, the sense of expansion when you imagine a possibility, the relief you feel when you let go of something that never truly fit, all of these are the compass at work. It is not loud, but it is consistent, and when you learn to trust it, you begin to step into a way of being that feels not forced but natural. There is also a deeper reason instincts exist. They are not just survival mechanisms. They are evolutionary tools for thriving. Survival instincts keep you alive, yes, but thriving instincts guide you toward purpose. They help you recognize opportunities that align with your gifts and warn you when you are moving away from your essence. In this way, instincts are not primitive, they are progressive. They are part of the evolutionary intelligence that wants to express itself through you. When you honor them, you are aligning not only with yourself, but with the larger flow of life that is always moving toward growth and expansion. The silent compass within is also deeply connected to states of coherence. When the heart and mind are aligned, when thought and feeling are synchronized, instincts become clear. You can feel the signal. But when you live in stress, fear, or constant analysis, the signal becomes scrambled. Stress creates noise, and in that noise it is easy to mistake anxiety for instinct. This is why cultivating stillness, presence, and awareness is essential. The quieter you become inside, the easier it is to hear the true compass, the one that is steady beneath the fluctuations of thought and mood. Following this compass requires courage, because instincts do not always lead you to the most comfortable choice. Often they lead you to the unknown, to places where logic cannot give you guarantees. But in that leap, in that willingness to trust what you feel more than what you can prove, life begins to unfold in unexpected and extraordinary ways. Doors open, people appear, paths reveal themselves, not because you forced them, but because you aligned with the inner navigation system that was designed to lead you toward your own becoming. When you learn to live by this silent compass, life feels less like a struggle and more like a flow. It does not mean challenges disappear, but it means you know you are facing the right challenges, the ones that grow you into who you are meant to be. It means that your decisions carry the weight of authenticity, not obligation. It means that even if the path is uncertain, you walk it with a sense of inner certainty. That certainty is not in the outcome, but in the knowing that you are honoring the deepest truth within yourself. There is a way of knowing that does not rely on words, on explanations, or on rational arguments. It comes as a feeling, a sensation, a vibration that passes through the body before the mind has even constructed a thought. This is the language of instincts. It is the language of the body and heart, and it has been speaking to you for as long as you have been alive. The challenge is that most people have forgotten how to listen. They have trained themselves to wait for logic, to wait for proof, to wait for data before trusting what they already felt in the very first moment. But instincts do not operate through data, they operate through signals. These signals are subtle, but they are also remarkably consistent once you know how to tune in. Think about the way your body responds when something feels aligned with you. There is a sense of ease, a sense of expansion, almost as though your chest opens and your breathing deepens. Your energy rises and you feel pulled forward. This is not coincidence. It is the body's way of saying yes. Now consider the opposite. You have been in situations where your stomach tightens, your shoulders tense, your breath shortens, and even if everything appears fine on the outside, something feels wrong inside. That discomfort is also a form of knowing. It is not weakness, it is not anxiety without cause. It is the heart and body trying to tell you that something is out of alignment. The language of the body is far more ancient than the language of the mind. Long before human beings developed complex language and abstract thought, our ancestors relied on feelings in the body to navigate life. That tightening in the gut might have been the difference between walking into danger and staying safe. That sense of calm in the presence of another might have been the recognition of safety, of trust, of belonging. The modern world has trained us to suppress this awareness, but evolution has never erased it. The signals are still there, waiting for us to remember. Science even shows us that the body perceives information faster than the conscious brain. Heart rate, subtle changes in skin, electrical signals in the gut. These shift before a person is consciously aware of what they are perceiving. This is why instincts often feel like a whisper you cannot explain. By the time the logical mind tries to construct a reason, the body has already delivered the message. The problem is that we often override it. We explain it away. We say, "I am overreacting," or I need to be rational, instead of honoring that maybe the body already knows something the mind has yet to grasp. The heart, too, plays a central role in this language. When people say, "Follow your heart," it is not just a metaphor. The heart is both a physical organ and an energetic center. It generates the largest electromagnetic field in the body, and that field changes depending on your emotional state. When you feel love, gratitude, inspiration, or compassion, the rhythm of the heart becomes coherent. That coherence sends signals to the brain and influences how you think, perceive, and act. In this way, the heart is not only responding to the mind, it is leading the mind. When you feel that intuitive pull in your chest, when your heart feels light or heavy, it is communication. It is the heart giving direction, not in words, but in sensation. Learning to listen to the language of the body and heart is an art. It requires slowing down enough to notice. Most people move so quickly, so distracted by external stimulation, that they cannot hear the signals. They only notice once they are overwhelmed, sick, or burned out. But if you practice awareness, pausing to feel what your body is saying in a moment, paying attention to the expansion or contraction of the heart, you begin to cultivate a deeper relationship with your instinct. You begin to hear the whispers before they become shouts. When you honor this language, you step into alignment with truth. You may not always be able to articulate why you feel what you feel, but you know it is real. You know it is guiding you. For example, you might meet someone who appears perfect on paper, yet something in you feels uneasy. If you dismiss that feeling, you may later discover why the body warned you. Or perhaps you receive an opportunity that looks risky, but your whole being lights up with excitement. If you ignore that pull, you may miss the very path that was meant to expand you. The body and heart do not calculate like the mind does, but they know what resonates with your authentic path. It is important to distinguish this language from fear-based reactions. Fear can also cause tightening in the body, but it feels different. Fear tends to create chaos, scattered energy, a frantic mind. Instinct, on the other hand, feels like clarity. Even when it warns you, it carries a sense of calm certainty rather than panic. The more you practice listening, the more you can tell the difference. This discernment is essential because the body and heart are not trying to confuse you. They are trying to protect and direct you. There is also a harmony that arises when the body and heart work together. The body feels the signals, the heart interprets them emotionally, and together they deliver a message to the mind. When you allow this harmony, decisions begin to feel different. Instead of being made from stress or confusion, they emerge from a place of resonance. You know in your gut, you feel it in your heart, and then the mind can step in to support that knowing with action. This sequence, body first, heart second, mind last, is the natural order of intuitive decision-making. But in modern life, many people invert it, letting the mind override the other two, and that is why they feel disconnected from themselves. To restore this order, you must practice presence. The body and heart do not speak in the past or the future, they speak in the now. A sensation cannot be felt yesterday or tomorrow. It can only be felt here. The more present you become, the more fluent you become in this language. You start to feel the subtleties, the difference between heaviness and lightness, between contraction and openness, between agitation and peace. These subtleties are your instincts translated into the vocabulary of sensation. When you finally begin to live in this language, something shifts. You stop looking outside for constant approval, because you realize your own system has always been speaking to you. You stop forcing yourself into situations that drain you, because you recognize the signs of misalignment early. You stop doubting your choices, because you feel them not just in your head, but in your entire being. This is the power of the language of the body and heart, and it is available to anyone willing to listen. Every human being comes into the world with an innate sense of knowing. It is not something that has to be learned, memorized, or taught. It is a deep, instinctive intelligence that quietly guides decisions, choices, and direction. From the very beginning, children are attuned to this inner compass. They gravitate toward what excites them, they avoid what feels unsafe, and they express themselves without hesitation. But as life unfolds, something begins to happen. That knowing, that raw and authentic instinct, is gradually overshadowed by the powerful weight of conditioning. This conditioning comes from parents, schools, peers, cultures, and societies. It teaches us what is acceptable, what is rewarded, and what should be avoided, often at the cost of silencing the inner voice that already knows. The battle between conditioning and knowing is one of the greatest struggles of human life. On one side, there is the instinctive wisdom that operates from authenticity. On the other, there are layers of beliefs, rules, and expectations imposed by external influences. Most people live caught between these two forces, often unaware of the tension, yet feeling the heaviness of it every day. They want to move toward what feels true, but they are held back by the fear of not fitting in, of being judged, of stepping outside the invisible boundaries drawn by others. Conditioning begins so early that by the time a person reaches adulthood, they often cannot tell where their true desires end and where cultural programming begins. For example, someone may pursue a career not because they feel alive when doing it, but because they were conditioned to believe it would bring security or respect. Another may chase relationships that look acceptable to society but feel empty inside. This disconnection creates confusion, stress, and a sense of dissatisfaction. The inner knowing whispers one thing, but the external conditioning demands another. The battle is ongoing, and unless one becomes conscious of it, conditioning almost always wins. The difficulty lies in the fact that conditioning does not always appear as an external voice. Over time, it becomes internalized. The voice of culture, parents, teachers, and society becomes the voice in one's own head. The person begins to confuse it with their own truth. They say, I should do this, I have to do that, this is what success looks like, without ever asking if those thoughts align with their instincts. Knowing, on the other hand, rarely speaks in shoulds. It does not argue, it does not threaten, it simply shows what feels aligned. But because it is quiet, it is easily drowned out by the loud demands of conditioning. There are moments, however, when knowing breaks through. These are the times when someone feels a spark of joy doing something simple, when they sense peace in a decision that makes no logical sense, or when they feel resistance to something that everyone else praises. These moments are glimpses of authenticity, reminders that beneath the layers of conditioning there is still an intact source of truth. The tragedy is not that people lose this knowing, but that they stop trusting it. They trade the certainty of instinct for the approval of others. They exchange inner fulfillment for outer acceptance. The battle intensifies in times of transition. When someone feels stuck in a job, in a relationship, or in a life path that no longer serves them, it is often because the knowing within has been ignored for too long. The discomfort, the restlessness, the lack of energy, these are not flaws but signal. They are the body and mind rebelling against a life built on conditioning instead of truth. People often try to numb this discomfort with distractions, consumption, or busyness, but the signals do not go away. They only grow louder until they demand to be acknowledged. Breaking free from conditioning requires courage. It means questioning beliefs that have been held for years. It means disappointing others who expect you to live a certain way. It means risking judgment to follow what feels right. But the alternative is living a life that looks successful from the outside yet feels empty inside. Knowing does not promise the easiest path, but it promises the most authentic one. And authenticity is the only place where fulfillment can truly exist. It is important to recognize that conditioning is not inherently malicious. Families, cultures, and societies pass down rules because they believe they are keeping people safe, successful, and accepted. But what may have been useful for survival in the past is not always aligned with thriving in the present. This is why the battle exists. Instincts are evolutionary, always moving toward growth, while conditioning often clings to the past, to stability, and to repetition. When you choose knowing over conditioning, you are not rejecting your past. You are simply allowing yourself to evolve beyond it. One of the ways to distinguish between conditioning and knowing is to examine how each feels. Conditioning is heavy. It feels like obligation, pressure, and fear of consequence. It often comes with stress and resistance. Knowing, in contrast, feels lighter. Even if it points you toward a challenge, there is an underlying sense of clarity and peace. It is not forced, it is natural. The body and heart expand instead of contract. This is why learning to feel is so essential. Without awareness of your inner signals, you cannot discern whether you are moving from conditioning or from authenticity. The battle between conditioning and knowing is not about erasing the influence of society, but about reclaiming the authority of your own inner voice. It is about recognizing that while conditioning may shape you, it does not define you. Beneath the noise, your instincts are always present, always whispering, always guiding. The task is not to create this knowing, but to uncover it, to strip away the layers that obscure it, and to trust it even when it challenges the expectations of others. When you begin to live from knowing instead of conditioning, life transforms in ways that logic cannot predict. You feel aligned, energized, and purposeful. Choices become clearer, and even when the path is difficult, it feels like the right kind of difficulty. The external world may or may not approve, but the inner world finally rests in authenticity. And it is in this authenticity that real growth, fulfillment, and freedom are found. There is a rhythm to life that becomes clear the moment you begin to notice how your inner state responds to the choices you make. When you are aligned with your instincts, when you are moving in harmony with what feels authentic, your entire being responds with energy. You feel alive, inspired, and capable of facing challenges with resilience. It is as though life itself is working with you rather than against you. But when you ignore your instincts and move in opposition to your truth, resistance sets in. That resistance slowly drains your energy, creating tension, stress, and ultimately suffering. This is not merely a metaphorical concept. It is a lived experience that every human being encounters daily. Think of the times in your life when you followed a decision that felt aligned. It could have been as simple as saying yes to an opportunity that excited you, or as profound as choosing a path that others questioned but you knew was right. In those moments, energy seemed to multiply. Even if the work was hard, it did not feel exhausting. Even if obstacles appeared, they felt surmountable. You were fueled not by willpower alone, but by a deeper current of vitality that arose from within. This is the power of alignment. It turns effort into flow, discipline into devotion, and challenges into growth. Now contrast that with the times you ignored your instincts. Perhaps you stayed in a job that drained you, or you pursued a relationship that never truly felt right, or you followed a path simply because it was expected. In those moments, the energy of life seemed to leak away. Even small tasks felt overwhelming. The body grew heavy, the mind restless, the heart closed. You may have forced yourself forward with sheer will, but inside you were resisting. That resistance was not just mental, it was physical, emotional, and spiritual. Over time, it became suffering. The distinction between alignment and resistance can even be seen in the body. When you are aligned, your nervous system shifts into balance. Your breathing becomes deeper, your heart rate steadier, your muscles more relaxed. The body moves into coherence, a state in which energy is used efficiently and creativity flourishes. When you are in resistance, the body shifts into survival mode. The breath shortens, stress hormones rise, and tension spreads. Energy is consumed not for creation, but for protection. Day after day, this state of resistance leads to fatigue, burnout, and illness. Alignment, on the other hand, generates energy because it removes internal conflict. When what you feel, think, and do are in harmony, no energy is wasted. You are not pretending to be someone you are not. You are not fighting against your own instincts. You are not suppressing emotions or forcing yourself into situations that contradict your essence. All your energy flows in one direction, toward growth and creation. This is why people who live in alignment often appear vibrant even when they are busy. They are not drained by inner battles, they are fueled by authenticity. It is important to understand that alignment does not mean everything is easy or comfortable. Challenges still arise, pain still exists, but the difference is that aligned challenges feel meaningful, while resistant challenges feel pointless. For example, pursuing a dream may demand long hours, effort, and uncertainty, but if it aligns with your instincts, those demands energize you. In contrast, forcing yourself to stay in a situation that contradicts your truth may appear stable, but it erodes your spirit. One path stretches you, the other depletes you. This dynamic can also be observed in relationships. When you connect with people who resonate with your authentic self, the exchange of energy is uplifting. Conversations inspire you, presence feels effortless, and even disagreements become opportunities for growth. But when you engage in relationships that require you to mask your truth or suppress your instincts, the energy drains quickly. The resistance may not be visible to others, but inside it feels like carrying a weight. Over time, that weight becomes suffering, not because of the other person, but because of your own misalignment. The same principle applies to creativity, work, and purpose. Alignment with your instincts brings a natural flow of ideas, inspiration, and motivation. You are not forcing creativity. It arises because you are connected to the source of your energy. Resistance, however, blocks this flow. It leads to procrastination, frustration, and self-doubt. The more you resist your truth, the more stagnant your energy becomes. This stagnation is often misinterpreted as laziness or lack of discipline, but in reality, it is the consequence of disconnection from alignment. What is remarkable is how quickly energy shifts the moment you realign. Even small adjustments can create significant change. Saying no to something that does not feel right, even if it seems minor, can release a surge of relief and energy. Saying yes to something that excites you, even if it seems uncertain, can awaken inspiration. The body, mind, and heart immediately recognize alignment, and they respond with vitality. This is why following instincts often feels like liberation. It is not about escaping responsibility, but about reclaiming energy that was trapped in resistance. At its core, the principle is simple. Alignment creates energy, resistance creates suffering. Yet living by this truth requires awareness and courage. Awareness to recognize when you are resisting your instincts, and courage to make choices that honor alignment even when they defy expectations. Many people remain in resistance because it feels safer to conform, to avoid conflict, or to cling to familiarity. But safety without alignment is an illusion. It may protect you temporarily, but it drains your energy until life feels like mere survival rather than creation. Energy is the currency of life, and instincts are the guide to spending it wisely. When you follow them, energy flows, expands, and multiplies. When you ignore them, energy contracts, diminishes, and eventually turns into suffering. The body knows this, the heart knows this, and deep down, you know this as well. The choice is not between struggle and ease, but between meaningful energy and unnecessary suffering. One is the path of alignment, the other is the cost of resistance. Every human being carries within them an inner map, a subtle yet profound navigation system designed to guide them toward a life of meaning and fulfillment. This map is not written in ink, nor is it drawn in lines and borders. It is felt in instincts, in intuitions, in the quiet sense of resonance when something is right and the unease when something is not. To trust this map requires faith in oneself, a willingness to surrender the need for absolute certainty, and the courage to step into the unknown. Yet those who do discover that fulfillment does not come from chasing what others expect, but from honoring the directions of their own inner knowing, this inner map does not present itself all at once. It is revealed step by step, like a path illuminated only as far as the next turn. Many struggle with this because the conditioned mind craves guarantees, detailed plans, and external validation. But instincts rarely work that way. They give you just enough to move forward. They whisper, "Go here, try this, trust this pull." The rest unfolds only once you take the step. In this way, trusting the inner map is not just about knowing. It is about moving with faith, even when the destination is not yet visible. Think about times when you listened to an instinct that seemed irrational yet led you exactly where you needed to be. Perhaps you felt drawn to a place, a person, or an opportunity that others questioned. On the surface, it may not have made sense, but something inside of you knew. And once you followed, new doors opened, connections formed, and a deeper sense of purpose revealed itself. These are not accidents. They are the moments when your inner map aligned you with the unfolding of your authentic life. Fulfillment arises not from controlling every detail, but from aligning with this inner guidance. It comes from trusting that your instincts are not random impulses, but signals from a deeper intelligence. An intelligence that sees beyond the narrow scope of logic. While logic is confined to past experiences and learned knowledge, instincts tap into a broader awareness, one that perceives subtle patterns and possibilities your mind cannot fully articulate. When you trust this, you begin to live not as a reaction to circumstances, but as a creator of alignment. The challenge is that the world often teaches us to distrust this map. We are told to prioritize security, approval, and conformity over instinctive truth. As a result, many people suppress their inner guidance, ignoring the subtle signals until they grow faint. They choose paths that appear safe but feel empty, and they wonder why fulfillment eludes them. The truth is that fulfillment cannot be found in paths drawn by others. It comes only from walking the path that your own instincts illuminate. The inner map is deeply personal. No one else can read it for you because it is coded in the language of your own body, heart, and spirit. When you begin to honor this map, something remarkable happens. Life starts to flow in unexpected ways. Synchronicities appear, those moments when events line up too perfectly to be chance. Opportunities arise that match your deepest desires, not because you forced them, but because you trusted the pull of instinct. Even challenges begin to feel purposeful. You may not always get what you thought you wanted, but you receive what your soul needed for growth and fulfillment. This shift is profound because it moves you from surviving life to participating in its unfolding with presence and trust. Trusting the inner map also transforms the way you relate to fear. Fear often arises when the path ahead is unclear, but fear does not mean you are lost. It simply means you are stepping outside of the boundaries of conditioning. In fact, the very presence of fear can signal that you are moving closer to your truth. because authenticity often requires breaking free from the familiar. The key is to discern between the fear that warns you of real danger and the fear that arises when you are leaving behind comfort zones. Instincts help make this distinction. When you trust them, you begin to see fear not as a stop sign, but as a signpost that growth lies ahead. Fulfillment is not a single destination, but a continuous experience of alignment with your inner map. It is felt in the small choices that honor your truth and in the big decisions that reshape your life. It shows up in the energy you feel when you are doing what resonates with you, and in the peace you feel when you release what does not. It deepens as you learn to trust not only the moments of clarity, but also the moments of uncertainty, knowing that the map does not need to reveal everything at once. Trust is the bridge between instincts and fulfillment. Without trust, instincts remain whispers you ignore, and the map remains unused. With trust, instincts become guiding stars, and the map becomes a living experience. Trust does not mean blind belief. It means listening to the signals, testing them with action, and noticing how life responds. The more you trust, the more evidence you gather that your instincts are reliable. Over time, this creates a cycle of reinforcement, where trust deepens, instincts grow clearer, and fulfillment becomes a natural byproduct. What ultimately emerges is a life that feels authentic, not because it is free from struggle, but because it is aligned with who you truly are. When you trust the inner map, you are no longer chasing fulfillment outside of yourself. You are living it moment by moment in every choice that honors your instincts and every step that reflects your truth. This is the fulfillment that cannot be bought, borrowed, or imitated. It is the fulfillment that comes only when you have the courage to trust the map within and let it lead you into the life you were meant to live. When we bring all of this together, a powerful truth emerges. Instincts are not random impulses, but the deepest intelligence of our being. They are the silent compass within that points us toward authenticity. They are the language of the body and heart that speaks in sensation long before thought arrives. They are the knowing that exists beneath layers of conditioning, waiting to be remembered and trusted. They are the source of alignment that creates energy, and they are the inner map that guides us into lives of meaning and fulfillment. To live from instincts is to step out of survival and into creation. It is to trust that within you lies everything you need to navigate the unknown. It is to recognize that when you follow alignment, energy multiplies, and when you resist, suffering grows. It is to honor the whispers of the heart, the nudges of the body, and the quiet clarity that comes before the mind interferes. Fulfillment is not found in following the paths others draw, nor is it discovered in endless logic and analysis. It is revealed when you trust the inner compass, listen to the language of your body and heart, dissolve the weight of conditioning, and allow your energy to flow where it longs to go. When you do this, life stops feeling like a struggle against resistance and begins to feel like a dance with possibility. It becomes a journey not of searching outside for meaning, but of uncovering the truth that has been inside you all along.